What is going on, guys? Fighting Game Select here, and we are back to talk about a little bit more of Tekken 8. But we're gonna have to bring another individual that I call one of the pillars of Tekken. Rip, what is good, bro?
What is up, dude? Good to be with you here.
A lot of people already know who you are, and they know you because of what the voice that you put for Tekken. That milestone is different from the viewer's perspective than the perspective of you. What have you accomplished for the game?
No, I started off as a competitor. That was way back in like early 2000s, 2005-ish. Eventually, I got to a point where I was like, I think I might be pretty good at this thing. Let me check it out. And so, started competing from there. But, as far as placements go in tournaments back then, my highlights were between like 2008 2011. It was top 8 at Evo. That was like always the goal. And once I got on that stage, I was like, I gotta win it now. I gotta do better than that. So then, 2009 was first, but it was like kind of like an exhibition Evo. He was still on like Evo Sunday and everything, so I still count it. And then 2010, I got second place, and 2011 I got third place. All those were in Tekken 6. And in that time, the game was blowing up, right? So Major League Gaming MLG came around, and at the time I thought it was like, oh, this is it, esports is about to get gigantic. 2010, and we had a whole circuit. But what ended up happening was I had like carpal tunnel, and I couldn't really play as much as I wanted to, and I just randomly got this opportunity to commentate for them, because they asked me on it as an interview, and they're like, hey, we only have one commentator, let's have you commentate the next match. I was like, sure, why not? And then like, hey, you guys are good together. Do you want to come back and do this in the future? And I was like, can I still play? And they're like, no. And I was like, well, my hand's messed up. Let me just, try to do this commentary thing, which, didn't exist back then. So that's how that all started. And from there, I was also running my YouTube channel. And the whole reason I started the YouTube channel was because when I was coming up in the arcades, progressing from a casual player to a tournament player, all the guys in the arcades were teaching me so many things about the game that I'd never heard before. And I was like, what? You can do this and that? Like, nobody told me this. And so I was like, we should really put this in some kind of like tutorial format. And my friend had been doing, MYK, he had been doing this podcast. And on the podcast, he had guys come on there and they would talk about characters, but I never knew what they were talking about because it would just be notations, right? Like, oh yeah, you hit his 4-4-2 and then you get a +3, so you can get down forward 1 after that. I'm like, what are they talking about? And I never saw it. So the whole purpose back then, this is like 2009, was that I wanted to get like video capture devices and record it in video form. And that was something that really hadn't been done much at the time either. So that was kind of the beginning of everything for me as far as a content creator goes. And so we started building these tutorials. I remember the YouTube channel got like 5,000 subscribers over the first weekend, which I thought was like crazy, right?
That is huge.
I didn't know what I was doing, right? Yeah, you have to remember, like I used to be in the IT department of this law firm, and that's where we used to film these episodes. But like I bought like all these like cameras, like HD cameras back then, 1080p, 60 FPS, capture devices, and I didn't know how to edit it. So it took me like 3 months just to edit like one episode together, right? But long story short, we started making these tutorials, and that tutorials, they really blew me up. So like a lot of people in the community learned from those tutorials, right? And then Tekken Tag 2 comes around after that. And
yeah, I was going to remember. I remember you having like a lot of featured players will come to your channel, and they will talk about like tutorials for characters. And one of the tutorials I watched was for Lee and Violet, and it was showing like the synergy with those two characters, and showing a lot of combos and things like that. And I was like, yo, this is like ridiculous.
Yeah, and all of those we did for free. So that's what it was, right? Like when I started this, like way back when, the idea was like, I'm gonna put something together that's so good that the publishers are gonna want to fund this, right? Because it's gonna help their game grow. That was my thought process on the whole thing. That never really happened. In Tekken Tag 2, they ended up partnering with us just to do like a little like introduction series, which was super cool, right? And that worked out. I thought that was great. But like they made us film in their office, so we had like weird echo and all this kind of things happening. But then after that, I was just happy that they even invited us to do anything. So I was like, all right, you know what? We're just going to do this for all the characters as much as we can going forward, right? So me and MYK, we got together. We started inviting guests on there to talk about their characters because MYK is a very knowledgeable guy. I'm a pretty knowledgeable guy when it comes to Tekken. But, when these characters, the rosters are so big, the moveset is so big, you really need a specialist to be on there sometimes. Exactly.
Yeah. And I hope you bring that back, man. I feel like that's serious.
It's coming.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go, bro. There's nothing else to say. But look,
it's coming.
Well, look, I appreciate that segment that you gave to us, but now let me ask you this question, man. What have the Tekken community, what has Tekken done for you?
That is a lot. You know, I mean,
It's okay. I mean, we're here for it, right?
you know, Tekken really changed my life. I mean, when I think back about when I was first starting to compete in the game, it was like nothing, right? Like the FGC back then was so small that when people heard that you were, you know, spending these hours practicing a fighting game because you wanted to go win this Evo tournament, they're like, what is that? You know, like what do you win if you win? They're like $1 million. You know, I was like, no, you got like a couple $100 or something. You know, if you're lucky, maybe 1,000 or two. Obviously, I've gotten to travel the world now, right? So I've been to, I don't even know how many countries. I've been to Japan over 10 times. I've just been really blessed in that sense. And, you know, getting to see the world and meet players who are passionate about the same thing from around the world, it's just the strangest but coolest feeling, I think. It's really hard to put that into words for me. But that's definitely the biggest thing it's given to me, I think. You know, and it's a little strange for me, too, because I've also kind of given up my traditional career path, I guess you could say, right? Because, like, I went to school to be a computer scientist. I was a programmer for a year. Before all this really picked up, you know, the commentary kind of and content creation kind of created a pivot for me, and it was kind of a choice between, do I want to make more money doing a less fun job, or do I want to make less money but get to travel the world and, you know, pursue this passion essentially. So that was the decision that I made, and it's been a good decision, to be honest. Like, you know, like I said, I got to travel the world, and the best part about Tekken specifically for commentary has always been like, the Tekken commentators as a crew was always just so fun to be around, right? It wasn't like a job. You were just hanging out with your friends around the world, essentially. So it never felt like a job. So that was always the best part.
One thing I will say, though, is, you know, studying commentary and, like, studying a player, it also is a great experience just because, like, you get to, like, learn what a player's thinking, and, like, when you're like a student to the game, I'll call it, you know, taking that time and, like, being able to, like, study that player before the match start, I think is always the greatest thing about, like, commentary. That's why you guys, you know, killed it. You were definitely one of the guys that killed it when it came with just talking about, like, segments for players.
Oh yeah, I mean, I always loved describing the players, and, you know, telling the players' stories, I think, as a commentator was always one of the funnest things for me. And when I think back about, like, my top 8 commentaries, there's always some kind of fanfic going on in my mind, and I always want to be able to tell that story and hope that that story comes true. And honestly, it's weird, but it feels like a lot of time it does happen, right? It's just the way the storylines play out, and if you know the players well enough, they just kind of write themselves, essentially. So you can kind of see the future in a way, it feels like, when you know enough about the players and what they're capable of.
With that being said, where can they find you, bro?
Dude, they can check me out at Level Up Your Game. You can check it out on twitch.tv Level Up Your Game, and especially on youtube.com/levelupyourgame. I've been trying to work on more content, but honestly, I just can't stop playing the game. So I just keep on
Dude, I feel like everybody has been saying that, which is really good.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to learn in this game, especially, you know, because we've never had a direct-to-console release for the game before. So it's an exciting time to be a Tekken fan, but I do plan to put out a lot more YouTube content, so definitely check out that channel. I'm trying to get to 100K, man. I think we just hit like 70-ish or something, so it's been weird, right? Because I told you we had that 5K spurt in like the first weekend, and they just kind of stopped. It's like the slow growth, right? But
yeah, man.
The
algorithm is a interesting weapon, I'll tell you that. And I look forward to that release date of the first one, and who is going to be the first one?
Azucena. And it should be this week. Boom!
Ooh, we got a little taste already. So look, make sure you guys check that out. I hope you guys been enjoying Tekken a lot. I've been having a blast too. And let me know in the comment section below, man. Do you guys like these type of conversations I have? What you guys want me to add more into? You guys let me know in the comment section below. But thank you so much. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.